The market over the next few weeks on VEVE is going to be nuts. There's so many drops happening, people will be selling off tons of things, MTL is coming, and this is where we're going to talk about what you should be buying if you're looking to invest and make more money in the long run with the app. Let's get started. Welcome in everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time to come and watch this video on the channel. Before we get on with the video, if you do enjoy the content, I would love for you to be a subscriber of the channel. We're aiming for 1,000 subs before the end of the year. There's so much happening with DesignerCon, all these drops, the MTL coming, and with the move to Immutable, there's definitely going to be people trying to sell as much as they can to make sure they can get into all of these drops, potentially remove some of their gems by selling off more of their things when the MTL is announced and is actually useful for the majority of the users. This is why, if you're someone who's here for the long run, it's going to be a smart idea to buy in the midst of all of this, especially with the things that are going to make you the most profit in the long run and the ones that are going to help you get to where you want to go with your investment strategy on this app. Things are going to take a fall for a short period of time, but I believe once new money can come in, especially from the crypto space, prices may skyrocket for specific collectibles that you might not be paying attention to right now. I'm going to split this into 3 different categories for each type of user. Ones who don't have too much money, people who are in the mid-range, and then the ones who have a lot of money to spend and are willing to listen to some different points of view on potentially what you should be investing in and why. Let's start off with the low end. And there's 2 different ones that I'm going to be suggesting, and the first one is the common comics. There's 2 reasons for this. 3 that I'm going to suggest for you to buy is the Marvel Comics one, the Amazing Spider-Man one, and Fantastic Four. All of the first ever appearances on VEVE themselves, and all 3 of them sell for significant value in the physical market, especially Marvel's Comic 1. I've created a video before on Marvel Comic 1 and why this is going to be so important, but Spider-Man and Fantastic Four just as good as an investment as any you can get. Marvel is a little bit more expensive, so you potentially could get 2 or 3 Spider-Man or Fantastic Four with the price of 1 Marvel comic right now. All 3 of them are very good investments for the future. There really only is upside to having these because of being the first on the app, as well as so significant of characters for all 3 of the areas that are happening. The one I would most likely go for if I didn't have too many gems would be Spider-Man, purely because he's one of the most well-known characters in the world, as well as him having his own standalone comic book there, whereas Fantastic Four obviously split up into a few characters in Marvel Comics as well. If you can hold these for the long run and the comic book collectors do come into VEVE, which I do believe they will in the future, you're going to see a massive shift in these prices purely because of how significant they are. Amazing Spider-Man and Fantastic Four both have had sales of upwards of 250,000, and Marvel blown out the water with 1.26 million of a sale. All 3 of these are going to be significant in the future, and this is what I would recommend investing in now if you have the opportunity to. The second one for the low category is the Marvel Mighties. Now there are 4 seasons now, I believe, of them, and the Eternals has been the most recent one that has come out, but these are going to be good investments for the long run. A lot of FAs within the Marvel Mighties, and although they might not be your cup of tea and everyone else's cup of tea, they're definitely targeted towards a younger audience. Something that VEVE is going to be trying to do as they move forward and bring in mass adoption is bring in a wide range of ages. And there's also been some speculation in the future there could be games related to these collectibles. So if you have them, you then may have the potential to rent them out or use them within this game to earn some sort of stuff, or just have the ability to play these games that are coming out in the future. I truly believe a lot of these characters in the Marvel Mighties will be quite significant in the future. And just because they have a fair amount of mints at the moment doesn't mean that's going to last for 2, 3, and 4 years when all of those FA characters are no longer going to be FA. I am definitely going to be looking to stock up on some of these moving forward, and just before everything sort of ends, I do believe there will be a price jump after all that happens, and I'm going to be investing in some of these Marvel Mighties to make sure that I've got a few to keep, to sell, and to trade with as they move forward and up in price in the future. Right, so we're moving on to the medium, and this is going to be a rough estimate of where you could be in this medium range, but this is more so for the people who have between 200 and 2,000 gems. Round about that area is what I'm aiming for anyway. The ones that I'm thinking of here are the first appearances of Joker, Harley Quinn, and Penguin. All 3 of these are incredibly significant characters in the Batman series, and having all of their first appearances, especially since they're season 1 characters as well, is going to be heavily significant in the future, and all of them have dropped in price a fair amount from where they've been at from their all-time high. I believe I've even seen FA Joker being up at 480 to 500 gems, and now I think he's down to about 230, which he has been at before and stayed at for quite a while in the past. All 3 of these characters are very popular and do appear in many movies, TV shows, and comic books within the Batman series. This also is in alignment with most FA Season 1 characters. If you can get your hands on a few of these from Season 1, especially if they're FA, and hold them for the long run, you're probably going to get them on very good deals at the moment when everyone's trying to sell off to make sure they have enough for the Disney drops, the designer con drops, and anything else that's going to be happening. I am going to be looking to pick up a few of these if I can. I've already got a few Harley Quinns, I've got one Joker and one Penguin, so I definitely am going to be looking to expand that a little bit further to make sure that I can trade some in the future and make a little bit more profit. The other one that I'm going to mention is the James Bond posters. People are definitely sleeping on these, purely because you can get sets with 2 of the posters alone, which is going to help with the Master Collector program, as well as them being fairly cheap as a whole. Posters may not be the most flashiest thing in the world, but they're definitely significant in what they do. And with James Bond itself, it is one of the biggest characters in the world and has made a crap ton of money with all the franchises that they have had. I don't believe we've had all the James Bond fans come into the VEVE app yet and truly understand the significance of all of these. If you can pick these up for a fair price, I reckon you can complete some sets whilst also having some awesome collectibles for your showroom and your VEVE house in the future. They're really not going for that much at the moment, and having a few more gems to spend to get 3 or 4 of each of them for a fair price, you're going to be flying. They're also rares, so you're going to be getting that bonus in the Master Collector program just for holding them, and they really aren't too expensive right now. I don't have many of these, but they did seem like a great pickup and something that could be worth a hefty amount in the future if the right collectors come along for them. First appearances are only going to last so long. There's only going to be so many first appearances of a character. You can get them from Season 1, 2, or 3. You're going to be looking at some significant profit in the future, especially when this app gets more and more people. We got confirmation last night that in the first Disney drop, there was over 100,000 people going for this drop, the Simpsons drop alone. And that probably doesn't include the people who couldn't get on the app. I would be likely to say we would have had upwards of 140 to 180,000 people going for this Disney drop. If this continues to grow, you could easily see that number reaching upwards of 200 to 300,000 people going for one single drop. If you're able to get FA editions that only have around 7,500 right now, that is going to be so small in comparison to the number of users on the app who are wanting to get these in the future. We've got to think about the long term if we're here for the long term, and this is one of the best ways to do it. And the final one we're going to talk about is the people who have a lot of gems. A lot more than me, a lot more than any of us, who have upwards of 2,000 gems just regularly, up to 10,000, 20,000 and all that sort of stuff, and they want to think about how they can use their investment in the best way in the future. Now for me, I came up with 3 different areas here. I need to think a little bit differently from maybe just the obvious ones. Now I still am going to mention the obvious ones purely because they are important to talk about, but the secret rare comics are ones that I'm going to mention first, purely because of how low a mint they are and how significant they truly can be. Marvel's first comic secret rare, Spider-Man's first comic secret rare, Fantastic Four, Kang, and there's so many others that you could buy for a fair price at the moment. A lot of them have dropped significantly from their all-time high, and I can easily see them going up again to that all-time high and surpassing that in the near future. If you have the gems to spend on these, you're willing to hold them for a while, I truly believe these can be a lot more than you think they can. Marvel's has already came down a lot from its all-time high, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon once more collectors come in and start purchasing these up. You can get these on a good deal right now. You're going to be set well in the future for sure. The second one, again, might be a little bit different to what most people were thinking about, but actually mass buying. I'm not saying here to go and buy 100 of them and then sell them all off when the price is that high and people are trying to sell. What I am saying here is buying for the long run and holding for the long run and having diamond hands with it, especially for the medium to long term. If you're able to buy 40 or 50 Amazing Spider-Man common comics, yes, you're going to spend quite a lot of gems in the start, but that is probably going to be a lot higher in the long run. These comics are very sought after and something that a lot of people will want to get. But if you have the gems, I would be looking at buying quite a few of these for my collection in the long run. And how cool would it be to have in your vault, especially once we're able to add that in, about 50 common comics all laying in your vault just to show off that you've got them. I think that would be awesome, and I think that could be something that would be great for the future. This also sort of ties back to the commons, but buying really low mints of these comics. Yes, you could probably buy the low mints of the secret rares, but they would cost a lot more, I feel. Whereas the common ones, you're probably going to find some good sub 150 mints of the comics released for a decent price. Not something that's going to be too outrageous for you to get. These not only get you a bonus for the Master Collector program, they are going to be the most sought after by collectors. Physical collectors can determine the rarity of a comic based on its condition, whereas NFTs don't have that sort of thing. The mint is going to be the way to distinguish that from other things. And the final thing I'm going to talk about is interoperable. Did I say that right? This is things like Givenchy, Frank Kozik, Ron English, and the designer con that's going to be coming up. There's some individual artists who are coming on there as well. I see those being able to be interoperable, and that is something that you should be looking at. If these can go off platform, that means we have that true ownership that we're looking for, and these are the first ones that are going to have the ability to do so. Maybe not all of them are going to skyrocket, I doubt they all will, but it's going to be an interesting thing to see how the market fluctuates, and could be a little bit of the riskier side, but maybe a higher reward if you've played your cards right. Things like the Givenchy poster, things like the ultra rare Frank Kozik and Ron English stuff, as well as some of the designer con things that are going to be coming up, could be really good buys and significant buys for the future. These were some of the investments that I'm looking to make, but I've not got all the money in the world to make them all. But some of them I wanted to share with you today, I believe are going to be a lot more valuable in the future than people think. But let me know what you think about the 3 tiers that I've laid out today. Would you change anything, or would you add something that I've not thought about? I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.